Alexandra Eala pinpoints the most important skill for student athletes. Alexandra Eala is one of the most popular players on the WTA Tour. The Filipina, 20, first made a name for herself at the 2025 Miami Open, reaching the semifinals after defeating Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Swiatek. From there, Eala has continued her ascendancy, becoming the first Filipina in history to become a top 40 ranked player on the WTA Tour. Most recently, Eala has been competing in the Middle East. She reached the Abu Dhabi Open quarterfinals last week, before being knocked out in the first round of the Qatar Open. Amid the hustle and bustle of the tennis tour, Eala has taken time to share some of her wisdom. Alex Eala says being able to compartmentalize is the most important skill for a student athlete. As per a post on the Rafa Nadal Academy Instagram page, Eala said, "I think the most important skill as a student athlete is to know how to compartmentalize. And if I'm being frank, when I was on tournament, I never wanted to do any kind of schoolwork, never wanted to do any kind of homework, any kind of Google classes. No." Laughing. "I never wanted to do it just because I was so focused on the tournament, and you're always like, tense even when you're not on court. So what I felt it was important is to know when is the right time to do what. And when you have a certain time where you're competing, okay, all your focus is on the competition. And when you have the time to study, for example, all your attention is on studying. So you maximize your efforts and you maximize your time." Eala is set to travel to the UAE to take part in the Dubai Tennis Championships. Eala, who will enter the tournament through qualifying, will make her debut appearance at the event. Following her appearance in Dubai, Eala will likely travel to North America to take part in the Indian Wells Open, where she will defend 390 WTA points. In September last year, Eala won her maiden WTA title at the Guadalajara 125K event in Mexico. The title win confirmed what many had been thinking prior to the success. Eala is one of the most promising talents on the WTA Tour. However, she is yet to capture a first WTA Tour level title, a tournament that offers 250 ranking points or more to the winner. Eala's best effort to date came at the 2025 Eastbourne Open, where she lost in the final to Maya Joint. Despite having championship points, Eala has more than proven that she can win a WTA Tour level event. However, whether she can deliver on her potential remains to be seen. Tennis. Alexandra Eala, more than a tennis star, a voice for student athletes. At just 20 years old, Alexandra Eala has emerged not only as one of the most promising talents on the WTA Tour but also as a thoughtful and grounded voice for young athletes balancing both academics and elite sport. From her breakthrough run at the 2025 Miami Open, where she defeated major names like Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Iga Swiatek en route to the semifinals, to her thoughtful reflections on the challenges of life on tour, Eala has become emblematic of a new kind of athlete, fierce on court, reflective off it. But beyond the wins and ranking points, Eala has started a conversation about something deeper, something that touches every student athlete who's ever tried to juggle books and balls, exams and practice sessions, dreams and deadlines. She calls it compartmentalization, the ability to separate, focus, and prioritize. And she believes it's the most important skill a student athlete can develop. Sparkles the balancing act. What compartmentalization really means. Imagine this. You're a high school senior with an early morning practice, followed by a full day of classes, homework to finish late at night, and a weekend tournament that feels more important than your math test. Sound familiar? Most student athletes know this feeling all too well. For Eala, who has spent much of her life traveling, training, and competing internationally, that feeling was real. She admitted that when she was on tournament duty, she didn't want to do any schoolwork at all. She was focused, laser-focused, on her matches, her routines, and her performance. But that came with a price. Schoolwork lingered in the back of her mind as pressure mounted off the court. So what did she learn? Compartmentalization is about knowing when to do what, and giving each task your full attention when its time comes. When it's time to compete, all mental energy goes toward performance. When it's time to study, the competitive mindset fades, making room for concentration and learning. This might sound simple, but the ability to switch focus is often harder than multitasking. Unlike multitasking, which spreads your attention thin, compartmentalization organizes your focus, sharpening it instead of dividing it. Brain why compartmentalization matters more than talent. Eala's rise wasn't just a result of raw tennis ability. She didn't get here because of a perfect forehand or a powerful serve alone, though both are strengths in her game. Her success came from mental mastery. In many high-pressure environments, mental skills outweigh physical prowess. An athlete who can control their thoughts, focus under stress, and shift attention when needed will often outperform someone with greater physical gifts but poor mental discipline. And this is especially true for student athletes. Not every young athlete dreamt of becoming a full-time professional. Some balance school, sport, and future ambitions simultaneously. In this context, compartmentalization becomes less of a nice-to-have and more of a must-have skill. Graduation cap compartmentalization in everyday student life. Let's break down how this skill looks in the life of a student athlete. Stopwatch 1. Scheduling with purpose. Instead of trying to do homework between sets or practice between class periods, compartmentalization encourages establishing dedicated time blocks. For example, Blue Book 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., focused study session. Tennis 8 to 11 a.m., training or competition. Red Apple 1 to 2 p.m., lunch and mental rest. Green Book 3 to 4:30 p.m., reserved for coursework. Each block is a zone with a clear purpose. There's a time for learning and a time for performance. This not only improves productivity but also reduces stress and fatigue. Person in lotus position 2. Mental reset rituals. A crucial but often overlooked part of compartmentalization is closing the door mentally on one task before moving to the next. That could be taking 5 minutes of deep breathing after training before switching to study mode. Writing a short journal entry at the end of study time to symbolically close the session. Using music or a brief walk to reset the mind. These small rituals help the brain transition from one type of focus to another, preventing distractions from lingering. Speech balloon. Real wisdom from the athlete herself. When Eala talks about the importance of compartmentalization, she speaks from experience, not theory. She openly shared that she struggled with schoolwork while she was entrenched in tournament play. But she realized that by deliberately placing mental boundaries around her responsibilities, she could maximize both her athletic performance and her academic efforts. It wasn't easy. It wasn't automatic. But with awareness and practice, she learned that you don't have to sacrifice one thing for another, you simply need to manage your focus. Person climbing more than focus. The broader lesson for life. Compartmentalization may sound like a niche skill for student athletes, but its impact reaches far beyond sport. In today's world, where distractions are everywhere, buzzing phones, social media,